So 12 years ago today, my life completely changed and turned upside down. And I wanted to hop on here and explain to you guys how I got as far as I did mentally, physically, and some of the things I did to continue to sort of push forward. Um, Give a little background of what happened and how I got injured. We were camping for the 4th of July weekend, and we just ran out of alcohol, and it was the 3rd of July. Tonight was a big party, so we had to run back into town. Buddy jumped in his truck. I jumped in the middle seat. It was a single cab Dodge pickup, and we were about a mile outside of town. Overcompensated a turn, right-hand turn, causing the truck to roll over. Next thing I knew, I was waking up face down on the road. Couldn't move, couldn't feel anything from my neck down. Talk about scary. No idea what happened. I was coughing up blood. It was some scary shit for a 19-year-old. But what I did know is how badly I was injured. Got life flighted to the nearest trauma center, and that's where I found out I had a C5, C6 spinal cord injury. Still didn't know what that meant, but I was about to find out. The next months, years, were a struggle. I'll never say this injury is easy. I post a lot on my social media of a lot of successes I do, but I also post the fails because I think that's very important as well. But I don't want to get into that in this video. What I want to get into is how I got to where I am today. What are some of the tricks and some of the things that I was able to do to push myself hard to get to where I'm at? So I started out in inpatient therapy. Inpatient therapy was more of transition me into my new life, and I didn't like that at all. This is where I'm going to be. This is how you're gonna need full assistance the rest of your life. They were telling me, we're gonna have to modify our house. We're gonna need a lift in our house to get me in and out of bed. That right there is some hard shit to hear, let alone imagine. I didn't accept it, and I told them that wasn't gonna happen. So at that point, I realized this is on me. I can cry, I can do whatever I want. This is on me. I have to work. I have to get to where I can be independent. I didn't know how long it was going to take. I had no idea what way I was going to go. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I had to do it. I was always a determined individual. Disciplined, I guess you could say. I grew up wrestling, which I give my thanks to, that helped me move forward and continue to not quit. But you really had to dig deep. Days that I didn't feel like getting out of bed, even in inpatient therapy, I couldn't roll over on my own. I couldn't shower on my own. I couldn't brush my teeth. Couldn't feed myself. I couldn't do anything. And mentally, it kicked my ass. I didn't know how I was going to get through it mentally. So I started training my mind. When I would feel down, when I would feel just crappy, feel like I couldn't go on, didn't want to get out of bed that day, I would immediately switch my train of thought. I trained my mind to be able to switch that thought to a positive thing. I liked off-roading. I liked Jeeps. So I would immediately switch to thinking of something. How am I going to do this? Or let's watch a video on something that I liked. I listened to hours upon hours upon hours of motivational videos that I truly believed helped me as well. I got to the point where I knew I had to work for something, and I was going to have to work to sit up on the edge of the bed, yes. But I envisioned sitting on the edge of that bed and doing it, how I was going to do it. I would sit there step by step, and I focused a lot of my thought process on that, on how I was going to do something. And I think that right there, envisioning it, got me to the point where I was able to do it, which you manifest it. But that's how I trained my mind. I was constantly thinking the next step. How can I do this? How can I push my wheelchair? Because I couldn't push a manual chair in inpatient rehab. They wanted me to go home in a power wheelchair, and I wasn't doing it. I said, no, I'm not going home in a power chair. They said, well, Zach, you can't push a manual chair. I said, I will. Before I leave, I will push a manual wheelchair. They said, before you leave in a manual wheelchair, you have to go around the gym one time. So I said, all right, challenge accepted. And I watched people push videos on YouTube, push wheelchairs on YouTube, different pushing techniques, and I also thought of my own with my function that I had at that time. Didn't have much arm function at all, but I worked, and I said, I want to work towards that goal of pushing a manual wheelchair. So we did workouts tailored to that. By the end, I did push that chair around the gym, and I did go home in a manual chair. I thought very hard how I was going to do it, and I did it. So that's how I trained my mind, and that's how I kept my mind from getting depressed. The only thing you have control of in your life is your mind, your mindset. The thoughts you think can become reality. You just have to do it. So after inpatient, went to outpatient, and when I say therapy, I did therapy 6 to 8 hours a day. And people are going to say, you're lying. I'm not. I went to therapy, went to physical therapy and occupational therapy for 4 hours a day. I went home and did another additional 2 to 4 hours of therapy with my parents or my grandparents. We do standing activities. I would get in a standing frame. Yes, I am moving fast on this video of how I got to the points that I got to, but hard work is how I got basically to where I'm at. But I didn't stop. Like I said, days that I didn't feel like doing something, days that my friends were out partying or doing whatever, I was home working. I was home doing different therapy activities on a mat table or standing. I was trying to walk with KFO braces. These are all things that evolved with step by step to achieve my end goal. And by that I mean, we started with sitting on the edge of the bed in outpatient therapy. Okay, so then that evolved into scooting down the bed, picking my butt up and scooting down the bed. That evolved into helping me transfer from my chair to a chair, or my chair eventually to my car. That evolved into me driving, because I was not driving without being independent, and that was one of my goals. So driving evolved into breaking my wheelchair down to get my wheelchair in. Breaking that down got my upper body strength. We worked on that. Have to get my upper body strength stronger. Did that. Got my wheelchair in. Next goal. Let's start walking. Let's get braces and try to start walking. Insurance companies denied me multiple times for KFO braces. It's impossible. So the therapist back home, they put knee immobilizer braces on. Started walking with them. We put knee immobilizer braces on with ace bandage holding my foot, tip of my foot up so it wouldn't drag. Started with that. I couldn't even take a step. My core wouldn't stand. I couldn't do it. So I get discouraged a little bit, but we started working on my core hard, doing different standing activities with a balloon where I'd stand and hit a balloon to a therapist. We do mat table activities with my core. These muscles, and I want to step back, these muscles that I'm talking about, my core, for instance, my tricep, they didn't work. I had no muscle function. But after repetition and truly believing and thinking, muscles started coming back. To this day, muscles are coming back. And I'll get to that here in a little bit. But once we got my core a little bit stronger, I was able to take a step with those braces. That eventually evolved into me getting KAFO braces. I had the full braces with the back brace as well at first. I walked in those braces for about 6 months with full assistance, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't really getting a core workout. Cut the back brace right off. I'm like, now it's time to start working. Challenge me super hard. I did it. You always have to up your challenges, or else you'll plateau. Every time I see him starting to plateau, I put something else in the mix. So the moral of this is you can't quit. It's okay to get down. It's okay to have bad days. You just cannot stay there. I have terrible days. I have terrible days that I don't feel like going to work. But I don't give myself another option. I know I have to. I know that if I don't, I'm going to feel guilty, because that's how I train my mind. If I don't do something that I say I'm going to do, I feel guilty. Or let me step back to that. If I say I'm going to do something, I damn will do it. I 100% will do it. If I don't, in a very rare occasion, I feel super guilty about myself. I get a lot of messages of people asking how I did it, where I dug deep, how I did it. And truly how I did it is I didn't quit. And I still don't quit. I work a full-time position. I come home, do therapy. From 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, I'm on the go. I don't sit down and watch TV. I'm either outside doing something around my house, doing therapy, on my hand cycle, with my wife. We're doing constantly moving. And sometimes my wife gets annoyed because I don't sit still, but it's how I do things. 1,000 miles an hour. But that's how I did it. And it all comes down to you. And that's where I want to go. Next is, how bad do you want it? And what is the reason that you want it? I wanted it so bad for myself and to prove doctors wrong, that said that this is how you're going to be. Those couple doctors that told me, you're going to need full assistance the rest of your life. You're never going to be able to live on your own. I just want to say, watch me. And when I went back, I had to go back to show this doctor that said, where I was going to be at. And me wheeling in a manual wheelchair, living my life to the fullest, his jaw sort of dropped. And it's like, that's what I told you I was going to do it. So fast forward to recently, I went to a trial at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio, and I did this trial for my upper body extremities. Mind you, I'm almost 12 years post-injury, and I did therapy 5 days a week down there, 4 hours a day, I believe. And I regained so much function in my right tricep, it's unreal. The transfers, I don't know. It's still a trial, so it was a brain stimulation trial. I'm not sure if I got the placebo or the actual stimulation, but whatever it was unreal. My tricep has came back. Before I could barely put it above my head, and now I can do 5 to 10 pounds almost now. But when I went, the reason I jumped onto this, because when I went in to see this doctor, spinal cord doctor there, he looked at my MRI and said, "Wow, you have a very significant injury." And he said, "I really thought you'd be in a power chair when you were coming in here." I never heard that, and then nobody ever said that to me. It made me think how powerful your mind is. What is the medical reason that I'm where I'm at? There isn't one. I believed that I could do it. I believed where I needed to go. I envisioned where I was going to be. and I did it. But that's my rambling for today. This year, it hit me pretty hard. I don't know why. It hit me a little harder than previous years, but I'm not stopping, and neither are you. Keep going. I mean, if you guys ever, and anybody watching this ever has questions or just down for a day, or yeah, I've lived it for 12 years of a spinal cord injury, and it is some rough shit. Never will I say that it's easy. So keep going, don't quit, and focus on that goal. Envision that goal and go for it.